Hello, class, and welcome to this lecture on business ethics. So, just in general, any business, there's ethical standards that we all have, and I wanted to kind of go through them and talk about it. This is not a long video. It doesn't take a very long time to explain what is ethical, but we'll do our best job here in the time we have together, and hopefully you can come away with some things that you didn't already know and that you can use in your future endeavors. Now, this topic is not highly tested, maybe one or two questions at the most, but it's very important though. So I'm going to give you a basic definition I'm reading out of a book on what ethics is. Ethics is a branch of philosophy dealing with the values that relate to the nature of human conduct and values associated with that conduct. Business ethics is defined as balancing the goal of profits with values of individuals and society. So that is the definition I want to use for the purposes of our discussion. I'm going to repeat it. Balancing the goal of profits and values with individuals and society. See, that's what ethics are. It's a balancing test. Because obviously you're here to make money, and that's why you're in business. But at the same time, there's a balance where there still has to be values, just inherent moral values that we have to have. So say, for instance, we're a restaurant, okay? And the milk is expired by 1 day. And we smell it. Smells good. We taste it. Tastes good. We look at it. It looks good. I mean, that's really just, a question of it's fine, but it is expired. So, ethically, can a chef or a cook or a restaurant or whomever serve that milk product that's expired by the date on the carton, however, seems perfectly fine? Well, that's the balance. It's the balance between, I don't want to throw away this $3 gallon of milk, but at the same token, it is expired and maybe I shouldn't. That is business ethics. Now, what you decide and what you don't, that is obviously up to you in that moment. But if it was me, I would not want to serve that milk because just in case there was an issue, they're going to come back and say, well, a jury's going to hear that I am serving expired products, and even if it's expired by 1 day, and even if the people didn't even get sick, they just found out I gave them expired milk. I don't want the reputation around town that we sell less than quality products. So that's just for me, but that's ethics. See, that's the thing about it, is ethics is, there's no right or wrong answer, okay? It is your own moral compass. It's your own balancing test between making profits and doing a great service to your community and society and keeping your customers happy and healthy and providing for them what is promised. So that's kind of our standing definition on ethics. So I'm going to go through a few things, from theoretical standpoints on business ethics, and we're going to talk about a situation that actually happened. It's a famous story, and we'll kind of get to that here in a minute. So when it comes to different theories of ethics, I can tell you that this has been debated since the beginning of time, okay? Since the very, very, first business transaction until today, ethics will continue to be used and, at the end of the day, be discussed. There's a particular theory I want to share with you. It's called the rights theory. R-I-G-H-T-S, rights. Like I have the right to remain silent, okay? I'm going to read the definition of it. It states, it's a theory of ethics that we all have rights that must be honored and protected, okay? Now, whether that's through government or through business, whatever it is, but we all have a certain amount of rights that need to be protected. And this is the theory that I like the best. Of all the theories, there's hundreds of them. But this is what the rights theory really means. What the rights theory means is that a business owner would violate their ethical obligation to a customer when they violate one of their customers' rights. Okay, like we have the right to not get sick when we eat at your restaurant. We have the right to a safe environment. We have the right to not be spat on by your waiter. I mean, whatever it is. I mean, we have rights. So a business owner crosses the ethical threshold when they invade the rights of their customer. So that's kind of the main theory that I think prevails as the majority opinion in our world. So that's kind of where you know. So you can evade someone's ethical rights and there be no damage. For instance, the milk. We serve the milk. Well, I have a right not to eat expired food. I mean, it's expired. Even if I don't get sick, well, that doesn't matter because I should have a right to eat food that's not expired. So if the FDA stamps something that is good till this date, I expect to, not be served that. Now, obviously there's this whole theory of it's best by this date, and there's all kinds of conglomerates that can argue it either way, and not that anybody's wrong or anybody's right. However, this theory is the basic majority theory. It's called the rights theory, that your ethical obligations begin or you exceed them the moment that you trample on someone else's rights. Okay? So that's the rights theory. Now, as we move, forward into our analysis of ethics, I guess the question is, why are business ethics important? Okay? So I'm going to give you just a second, kind of think about it. What is important about business ethics? Like, why is it important? And there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's only your answer right now. So all I can give you is my answer. My answer is because I was taught a long time ago by a business professional that people do business with businesses that they know, they like, and they trust. Okay? That is where you do business. Know, like, and trust. Okay? And the first two are really quite simple. So if I'm a restaurant, okay, by knowing me, that just means I have a sign out there, or maybe I met you, at the gym and I invited you to my restaurant, or I sponsor your kid's Little League team. It doesn't matter. To know is simple. Hi, I now know you. Now, to like is also very simple because I sponsored your kid's Little League team. So you like me because, I am involved in your world, so we have a connection there. So you like me. You're like, oh, he must be a nice guy because he sponsors Little League baseball teams. Okay? But the final one is trust. And trust is truly where ethics come in. Because just because I met you at the gym doesn't mean I trust you. Okay? Just because you sponsor my kid's Little League team doesn't mean I trust you. Trust is something that is normally earned, and it's almost always earned through ethics. So once I have served you multiple meals, you begin to trust that I serve you good food. Or if I have been serving your family and friends and they rave about our food at our restaurant, well, you trust me because you trust their opinions. So now in turn, by de facto, you trust me. But however, if I was unethical in my restaurant and it was, it was dirty, or I kind of scammed people, I upcharged them, things like that. So you come into my restaurant and, it says, hey, it's, $10 for chicken wings. And you're like, I'd like some chicken wings. And I say, would you like some ranch with that? And you're like, absolutely. And I don't tell you it's an extra $1 for ranch. Okay? It's not a big deal. It's an extra 50 cents, 25 cents, whatever it is. But I didn't mention to you that there was an upcharge for your ranch dressing, because it's common just to be given a small container of ranch when you get chicken wings. And I get my bill, and I'm like, I mean, it's 50 cents, but still, you should have told me that. They're like, it's not in the menu, the waitress doesn't say it. I find that to be a little unethical. So I'm going to tell my family and friends, oh yeah, the chicken wings were great, but it's kind of weird the way they did the billing. My bill was wrong. I wasn't happy with the way the bill turned out. They upcharged me for my ranch, and not that it's a big deal, but I wish they would have told me. So those are the type of things that gain trust. So know, like, and trust. So ethics are important because it's probably the only way you're going to get to the trust aspect of that trilogy, is through the proper ethics. So ethics obviously is very, very important. So a good reputation and public policy and all of those aspects are important. However, business ethics also keeps you from getting into trouble. So one of the easiest ways to get sued would be to fall under an ethical standard. Especially when someone is injured in a health-related manner. Okay, so if you break an ethical code, you're trying to make more money, and it hurts someone, that's a great way to get sued. Additionally, ethics are important inside of your local boards or governing bodies. Like, I'm an attorney. Okay, so I am governed by the Florida Bar, and the Florida Bar has an ethical standard for all attorneys inside of the state of Florida. And if we fall below the ethical standards, there is a very good chance that we'll be disciplined. And the discipline could be as simple as, writing a letter of apology, or taking a continuing legal education course, or being suspended from the practice of law for 30 days to losing your law license. So that can happen in any style of profession where you have a board of ethics. So ethical professionals can lose their licensing based upon violating the ethical standards of their profession. So ethics have those points as well. So it's not just getting more business. It's not just because it's the right thing to do. For a lot of us, it's the way that we keep our licensing. So we got to remember that. Now, I had told you that there was a story, a news story that was actually very popular, and I want to read it to you. And I know I don't normally read a bunch of stuff out of books to you because that's just incredibly boring. But a lot of people don't know the story, so I'm going to read this quick few paragraphs. It'll probably take me 2 minutes to read it, and ask a question at the end of it and see what you think about the ethics of this practice. So, one of our major industries is entertainment, okay? So whether that's going to a theater, going to a movie, going to a theme park, or participating in athletic events. This is one of those. So this comes down to an NFL football team, okay? So this NFL football team, they are the New Orleans Saints. And I'm going to tell you what happened. Their defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, established a bounty program, and a program that rewarded his players for injuring the other team's players. So, for example, $1,500 was offered if one of the Saints players knocked out an opposing team player. There was $1,000 more if the player had to be carted off the field. So you get an extra grand if they got to bring out the stretcher. There was an offer of $10,000 for any player who could knock Brett Favre out of the NFC Championship game in 2009. The result was that Mr. Favre was hit almost every play, many times far after he had thrown the ball. So $10,000, and they just keep hitting him, trying to knock him out of the game. The word around the league was that Mr. Williams rounded corners. If you were looking at someone to hire for their ability to coordinate defense, you would hire the guy. You have to understand what you're getting, though. He may take chances you don't want, was what came out in the NFL investigation. So, why do you think, well, before we get into that, let's just kind of summarize this story. It's an NFL football team. One of their coaches says, I will give you $1,500 if you hurt one of their players. I'll give you another $1,000 if you hurt them so bad they got to get on a stretcher. And if you can hurt that particular guy, I'll give you another 10 grand. Is that an ethical problem? So, this is kind of the question that comes about is, why do you think everyone was so willing to go along with the bounty program? Because it says in the story that the particular player that you got that $10,000 bonus, they hit every play. Late. Like, he would throw the ball, and then bam, they hit him. So why do you think everyone was so good with it? Like, they didn't have an ethical problem with it. So that's question one. So I'll let you think on that for just a moment. And then I'll give you my answer. And the next question we're going to talk about is, as a penalty, the Saints lost their head coach, Sean Payton, for 1 year, and Mr. Williams was fired. Various other coaches were suspended. The Saints paid a $500,000 fine. But our question for you, so that's what ends up happening. Coaches get fired, one gets suspended for a year, they fine the club $500,000, all that kind of stuff. But the question is, why do you think everyone was so willing to go along with the bounty program? They had to know it was ethically wrong, right? See, this is the part about being a business leader. This is the part about being the manager at a hotel, or the head coach of a football team, or whatever, the situation is. It's because the owner, or well, not the owner, but the person in charge, the coach, had instructed it, and he had made it seem as if it was no big deal, and he had put excitement around it. He had downplayed the ethics of it, and he is the person that the players look to for direction. That's why you notice I didn't say any of the players got kicked out of the league or anything like that, or the players didn't get fined $500,000. They're the one hitting the guy late. No, not them. The team got fined $500,000. The owner of the team. He had nothing to do with it. He's not even in the room. He doesn't even know it's going on, and he gets fined $500,000. But the football players who are hitting everybody, no fine. That's because the buck stops with the owner. The buck stops with the managers. The buck stops with the person, in the restaurant. So we're in the restaurant, the head chef, the owner of the restaurant, whoever the general manager is. So if the cook uses the bad milk, okay, he may get fired. Okay, yeah, sure. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a huge lawsuit. He loses his job, and the owner loses his restaurant. See, that's why ethics are important, because you have to display them as the owner, manager, person in charge. And that's what I'm challenging each and of you guys with today as you move on into your world. And obviously you're getting higher education, so you're going to be in management. You will be the person that will be held accountable for the ethical dilemmas of the people underneath you. And you have to be extremely ethical in your job in order to display the ethics that are expected of everyone else. What should have happened in this case here is the owner should know what's going on with his coaches. The head coach, who lost his job for 1 year, he didn't stop the assistant coach from putting the bounty program on. So the owner has no idea. The head coach knows, but he didn't create it. It's the assistant coach that creates it, Mr. Williams. But these two people above him get just as bad of a penalty as the guy who did it. End of the day, the buck stops there. So that is kind of our lecture on business ethics. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see y'all next time.